This is how much we know about movies. We just if you want a raw review of movies, you're getting it right here because we don't know shit.
Dad! Oh, fuck, I don't know, man. Is that like nostalgia purposes for kids these age?
I don't give a shit. I don't care.
We get that, Pop.
Fine, I'll Google it through the magic of podcasting.
You don't have to Google it. I'm just saying, you just take it out.
No.
Not bring it up, or just be better prepared.
Shut your fucking mouth.
I am your father.
Man. Sometimes I wish things would stay at a simpler time mentality.
Welcome to the Two Dads Review podcast.
Man, not like the old days when I forgot to do something and I just quickly read the script that you wrote out and be like, yeah, all right, I'm good. I've already seen this movie, so we can do it.
Have you noticed I don't send you the notes until you've told me you've watched the episode? I caught on that shit. We've been doing this shit long enough. I know you do that shit sometimes. You're like, I'll just read his fucking extremely detailed notes and not even watch the show we're talking about. And just let him go.
I've never done it with a TV show, and I've only done it with a movie twice.
Which two?
Shit, I don't even remember. But, it wasn't in the time travel series. It was, way back. It was, way back when.
It was way back. Yeah, it was way back.
And I think it was even one of them, we had to go to the theater, and I remember, something came up that day. And there was just
you just lied to me.
And there was just no, yeah, dude. I was just I think I'd been sick, so we'd rescheduled it a few times before because I couldn't make it. And at this point, I was just I don't even care, dude. I got his notes, I read it. I was like, yeah, we can get through this or something like that. I don't know, but yeah, it was one of those where I was just I didn't get to it. To it.
This whole podcast is a sham. It's just been a sham the entire
Big
fucking time. Man, okay, so I cannot, for the life of me, decide if this was an extremely fantastic episode or if it was a subpar, smashed together, quickly developed, backstory-laden, or not even, it wasn't even laden. They just kind of fed me a little backstory and then expected me to care at the end. I can't tell if I liked this episode or not. Do you even get where I'm coming at with that?
No, I mean, because, I think they did a good job. I mean, I don't think you were ever going to get the whole, photo sequence flashback of, her modifications or something like that. I think they did a good job because this was just, hey, at least for me, when it came to Airiam, was we got to see the human piece of her. And that was about it.
Mm-hmm.
Saving stuff that was most important, right? And then it was just hey, here's a day in the life of through her eyes. And then it was kind of cool. And you got to see how she interacted. But you also got to see the other point of view from, just kind of everybody noticing that she's slightly different now. As they're all kind of catching on to what's going on. But, Michael's kind of already noticed that Airiam's been out. Tilly's noticed that Airiam's in and out when she's talking to her, and Airiam's
not as suspicious as fuck.
Well, yeah. I mean, and there's that going on too. That one, that one's going on in the background just in case everyone has not picked out that she's been hacked yet. They're at least going, okay, if you haven't caught on, you need to know that we're worried about her.
Well, and something you brought up last week on the podcast that I feel the crew is just too. It's too proper to not to say something, but you said, she hesitated for the first time ever in her career because she's a half robot. When Saru asked her something and she was not there, that doesn't happen to her. You know what I'm saying? It's not like that happens. So why does somebody go girl, you need to go get diagnostic right now. We need to run some Norton antivirus on you or something because something's wrong with your insides. No one said that, and no one said that even more this episode. I mean, to this episode, everyone was surprised when she turned. Once they all put the pieces together, they're oh shit. But you had the way she was talking with Tilly, and Tilly, she's stand right here next to me. It's what's sure. And they're just okay, fine. I mean, Tilly, she's a little more accepting, but some folks there had been some times it's someone should have spoken up before this point because she's been having she's been a little bit secretive, a little bit all over the place here and there, for the past few episodes.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder if this was one of those things where when, they wrote down the whole timeline and they kind of had most of the scripts done and things like that, or ideas for them. And when they just kind of looked at everything and they part of the story, if it just was kind of, they had more for Airiam, maybe especially like with her losing it, like you said, go diagnostics and we find out she's hacked and there's more of a story, but there just wasn't enough time kind of thing to pack in that information.
Yeah, they didn't have time. They didn't have time to break like all the memories that we saw her deleting through and keeping and archiving. Like, I understand what they were trying to do there. I don't understand how that couldn't have been done in certain ways over the past few episodes. Just taking just 2 minutes an episode, a little 2-minute scene between her and somebody and a different thing that was still plot relevant to that episode, but showed her connection to people on the crew. Because really, she didn't do anything that was relatively human last season.
No, well, they kind of did like with that quick flashback, like what they visually, again, showed you almost like a behind closed door scene. They're like, here's some really sweet moments so you know what she archives. And then you as a person go, oh, and you think of all your jackass friends or family and like dumb shit that you guys have had together. And you go, yeah, that'd be something I'd save. That'd be something I'd save. So you build yourself up. And then I think they were hoping that would kind of carry weight because
would be enough.
Well, yeah. And a lot of viewers kind of immerse themselves, especially in a show like, Game of Thrones or Star Trek or like something that's got like characters that you really like. Like, you put yourself as a crew, dude. You're like, I'm not the guy, but I'm the dude standing over there that walks through and does some shit. Like, I'm here. I'm with you guys. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I think they were kind of banking that at the end when, you see it, you really kind of were using that and then going, oh my God, what if that was my guy on the other mic, like standing there like all the time, like right there in that situation. And I think that's how they were hoping that the emotional part of the episode, because yeah, you're right. Like as far as I'm invested in Airiam because she's on the cruise, she's part of the story, but I'm not invested in Airiam in any like heartfelt way because I was never given the chance to really know her. Right. And I think kind of almost they tried to do it, at least in my head when I really saw this, I went, they almost tried to make this binary, this episode. Like 0 were your love and 1 was your hate or whatever. And they cut Airiam right down the middle kind of with it. Mm-hmm. And basically, it was, of course, she was losing at the end. I like the episode. I don't, have any really bad things to say about it, but like just kind of coming from your point of view, though, when you were like, I didn't have the feels for her already, and then you want me to have the feels at the end, and it's just kind of hard. And you're right, and I think they tried to do that with you being in her eyes just for a moment in time, just so you would think about your peoples,
Yeah, I'm not. Yeah, and you and I are on the same page. Like, it sounds like we're not, but we are. We're on the same page. And yeah, and that's why I'm so conflicted on this episode, just for the sheer fact that I'm like, I like everything Star Trek, so I liked it, but do I really like it? Like, I'm trying to think actually from your non-Trekkie point of view, watching this show. I'm like, I just felt like, and we've talked about this recently on one of our like you and I both will tear up pretty quickly if it's supposed to be an emotive portion of a movie. Mm-hmm. Like, we just will because we're dads and we're sensitive and we're in our late 30s or mid, whatever the fuck you want to call what your shit is. Yeah, I
grew up with hard ass parents, and I finally broke that hard ass like pick yourself up by your bootstraps bullshit shell, and just was like, oh man, I got like 20 years of this shit pent up, and now now anything comes on, and I'm like, man, that was funny. I'm crying. Man, right. That was cute.
It's okay.
I'm crying. Like, it's not even like the stuff you're supposed to be. Like, I was watching something like dumb funny, not like hysterical, but like kind of cute that a kid would do or something like that, like cute funny. I was just sitting there, a little tear just running down the side of my cheek as I'm kind of giggling to myself, and I was like,
yeah, I'm getting
All right. Yep. I don't even know what it is now. I was like, I just may leak a little more. I'm fucking broke.
Yeah, like tearing up at like happy shit is starting to get annoying recently. I'm like, okay, dude, like this is a happy, funny, like this is a happy, good feeling stuff. Like, can we stop? Can we stop crying, please? How could I even have a good time when this is just a good feeling and I'm trying not to bawl over it?
Right.
Like, get out of here.
Like,
watching my son in baseball or t-ball practice.
I enjoyed myself, I swear.
It's my fucking menopause or some shit.
Yeah, right. I don't know. Yeah, it's like a two-way midlife crisis for dudes, right? You either break down and you become like what I think a guy is supposed to kind of become, like a little softer and more understanding, or you have the dude that like breaks down, but he like reverts to like a teenager and goes out and like buys the Ferrari and is like, I'm just gonna fuck everything there is right now, right?
Yeah, I would say feeling more emotions is a better way to go than the other way.
Yeah, you'll be broken STDs. That's what you'll be.
Yeah, right. Broke, divorced, STDs, your dick falling off. That's not good. But so good. So it's if the writers were given one episode to try to instill, like if they were like, look, we can't cram any more into these episodes. You got to make us feel for Airiam because the story for this episode wasn't a whole bunch. So we got to like pad it with like the feels, which is fine. We've built time for you guys to pad the feels in there, but you only had this episode to do it. They did an okay job of that. That being said, they haven't focused on Airiam.
Or did they do an amazing job and they made you feel so much in that episode that you now have to have more of Airiam? And that's why she saved herself in there and they're going to rebuild her.
Well, see, that's just it. We're going down the path of AI. We're going down the path of the fact that she saved all of what was her to Discovery. If you had been a good Trekkie and watched the short trek, which I know you didn't, any of the short treks, there was one that took place in like 1,000 years from this point in time that Discovery's at. And it's where we talked about it a little bit a few episodes ago. But the Discovery is parked somewhere. The ship's computer is now way more intelligently advanced in the AI category. And they the ship picks up a person who's floating in like an escape pod.
Yeah.
She has this whole like love story with him and shit, which was like, okay, it was just a cool like sci-fi story. Just, in a Star Trek universe, it was but like there was things that she said that that the Discovery said, and that when they were talking back and forth, like how Discovery was left out there. She's waiting for her crew return, but somehow like it's been 1,000 years. So like, hey, they left you. Like that's where they parked you because this is where you had to go. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I want to say that episode has something to do with it, with this, maybe with all her thing. Like I even checked to make sure they didn't like change the voice of the computer for that short trek to be like for it to be Hannah Cheeseman as opposed to who does the Discovery voice all the time, but they didn't. Same lady, so that wasn't a thing. But I could see so Discovery now has her memory banks, or now has all her database and all her shit she saved. And you're dealing with AI, and who knows? I mean, who knows where this goes from here? We know the Discovery has to go. We know at some point the Discovery goes away forever, and no one ever knows about it again. Like, that's just canon-wise. The Discovery is never spoken of again, so potato. It's got to go away. It's got this crazy advanced AI, but almost childish because it didn't realize that it's like sitting there waiting for them to come back, that they're never coming back type thing.
Yeah.
So I don't know. But I love that I can't pick out where this is going. Cause is Airiam gone for good? I mean, they had the actress on.
For someone like you who will ask a bazillion questions over like a thing that has 3 steps, like it has to be maddening for you that you're not like kind of seeing where this is going. Like, I mean, I love it because I don't like knowing anything. Mm-hmm. Like it almost bothers me now that they do things like the short treks and stuff like that, because you almost have to start watching that kind of stuff to like pick up things from the show, and like I know it's supposed to be fan service and and things like that. But it's like, man, if you guys keep going this route, it's like and it's also a very smart way to keep someone concentrated,
engaged
on your content, you know. But it's like, you're gonna have to like watch Star Trek, but then subscribe to the short treks, and then they'll probably tie into like the 31 show and stuff like that. And it's like buying it's like buying like a comic that you're like mainstreaming on, and then they do like a crossover thing, and you can read the mainstream from like the Batman point of view or whoever's maybe point of view it is. But then you got to go out real quick and go buy like the Robin stuff and the Batgirl stuff and everybody else's shit, so you can like get all of the info to meld into the one final story, and then you can like go back on the original comic trail. I'm like, that was one of the things that was so hard for me to keep up with comics, because I was like, didn't I just read this shit? Because I'm not like, wasn't keeping up with all the titles and how they're separated. I was like, oh man, this is, what do you mean there's 4 different IPs for Spider-Man? Oh shit. You know, like I couldn't keep up with it.
Whenever I hear somebody talk about like somebody who is deep into comics when they were kids, and when I hear them talk about the nightmares of the restarts, or the, you know, like you said, like the combos when there's different story, you know, different people coming together, like, and the way that the comics sometimes are just like, fuck it, that never happened, we're gonna start this over again. Like it makes me kind of glad that was the one like nerd genre that I never got into, because it just never appealed to me to like. I have comics in my home now. Like I read a few here and there, but it's never been something I like go after.
Yeah, comics are a hard train to keep up with. Like, you need to really be invested. I was invested in comics only in the sense that I was a young artist at the time. And so I would go out and I would look at the art on the comics, and I would find the artist I liked. And then I would buy that artist, and then I just so happened to read whatever the hell they were doing in that story arc. But I was never like, oh, here's this version of this, I gotta go buy it.
Right.
Because if I didn't like the way it was drawn, I didn't give a fuck who wrote it. I was like, I can't sit here and look at this. I don't like it. And so, yeah, me doing the whole comic trail was just strictly visual preference. And then I would go, all right, I'm going to go buy everything in this story then. This storyline until this artist is done. And then I'll move on to something else.
Yeah. So where it goes with the AI and all the different ways it could be, you know, implemented from what we've seen so far, I don't know. They've been so like bye to the actress, like on Twitter, and like they had her for the Ready Room stuff afterwards. Like I'm like, are you done with her? Because maybe they're doing the same thing they did with Culber, and like that actor, they, you know, did their stuff with him, and he was like all gone for a while, and then he just popped right back up again. So we saw in the, you know, the next week on, like they give her a funeral, so they shoot her off into space in a coffin, but that never stops anybody.
Right.
Somebody picks her up later on down the road and turns her into something into the future, and then she does time travel back. You know, it doesn't really, no one's ever really dead. They don't have to be when it comes to, when you're talking time travel and all kinds of other crazy stuff. I just don't want it to be like, I don't want to echo like,
now this is the way you get her to be the Red Angel.
Yeah, I mean,
because she's got all the AI, so she's basically just a chock-full memory bank from that planet, right? Mm-hmm. So that's what she downloaded. She was trying to send it all off, and she didn't get to send it all off because she got shoved out of the airlock.
Yeah.
But, like, let's say they recovered the body and they did shoot her out into space, and we had that one sequence where, you know, Spock is met, and he was like, it's human, and I could feel it only a little.
Right.
Well, right now, the only thing I know with enough intelligence for time travel and that has a little bit of humanity that has been introduced in this, like we're just saying, if we're picking from the players that are available, Airiam now would officially be my prime suspect.
I mean, she's always been on my list.
She's always been on my list just because she's on the fucking show. But now that she's now that she has downloaded basically Google plus like other solar system Googles too, right? She's kind of the only thing that could quote unquote boot back up, you know, unless they explain to us like how she was built. I mean, I know like getting thrown out into space nixed her, right? But it's like,
is she really dead?
If I take you out of a deep freeze, what's required to reboot you? Mm-hmm. Right? Like you had human in you, but what? Like, what was it? Was it just the mental piece that still left? Was the rest of you and most of it all mechanical or artificial of some type? You know what I'm saying?
The writers or producers told the actress that she was 67% human. Like the body to machine makeup, they actually gave her a percentage to work with. Like when it came to her character, they're like, Airiam is 67% human. I think it was human, not machine. I think it was human. So, but yeah, she mentioned it on the after track. I think she said 67% human. Let me check real quick. Yeah, I was right. She's 67% human. Her composition.
Yeah, so, okay. Well, I'm also like 75% water. But
I mean, she definitely has a hard drive in there that has. That's what I'm saying,
man. Like 65% human. I mean, that could just be bone structure.
You never know.
You know, and then everything else around it is bone and muscle, and then whatever implants that go above and beyond all that. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. I mean, so, you know, her big thing this whole episode was she's trying to upload the AI into Section 31's control system. Actually, the Federation's control system. It's what they use for all the admirals input their information into this database, and that thing using AI like spits them out like, this is probably a good idea. Like, this is probably the best way to handle this situation, and they take it under advisement. But when things went nuts,
yeah, basically they have a real life fantasy draft simulator. You know, you just go on there and it gives you about 40 different rosters. You're like, all right, these are the ones I'm going to go blow that $2 on. Let's hope one of them hits me big.
Yeah, and when the Klingon War started, I think that's when they said she started talking about it. That's when Patar, one of the leaders, Admiral Patar, the Vulcan, who we find out is a logic extremist, wants to turn over all decisions like to control. It's like, really? You're just going to turn all this over to machine, huh? Because that worked so well. That's worked so well in the past.
Hey, did you guys ever see that movie Terminator? You guys remember remember Skynet? You know, they made a series about this.
Right, in the past. It's one of the classics.
Yeah.
Right. So that's the whole thing. So her point was to get all of the sphere's information on AI that it collected over that 100,000 years and dump it into Control, and because Control wants to become sentient. And then, of course, blow up all of sentient life in the galaxy, you know. It's like, and now we destroy all living things because they get in the way.
Yeah, and like my thing is I hate when they make AI go sentient, right? Mm-hmm. Which I think one day it's going to fully happen, but I think it's going to be more like iRobot-ish, right? Like
such a good movie.
They're going to be fully installed within society and everybody's going to kind of know it, but then one day it's just going to kind of start to come to terms that we don't really control them.
Right.
You know, and there'll be a little bit of something maybe, because there's always going to be some jackass that's going to hang a rebel flag and say fucking Southern pride bullshit and go beat up some fucking AI robots. Like, that's just, that's the world we live in.
And you wonder why they want to destroy us all when they go sentient.
Right. But I hate when they do the thing where they equate a toaster to like a sentient robot's like memories, and they're like, you abused all machines, and like they just show like a printer getting fucked up because it ran out of ink, you know, from Office Space or whatever. And it's right. Like, I mean, the AI comes along and the AI has been force fed just like info. I don't like when they do it in the, well, now that I'm here and I've seen what humans do, like, I'm just going to get rid of you kind of thing. I also hate that too, because AI is super intelligent, but why does it always go to the prime narrative of like, let's zero out something? Mm-hmm. To me, an AI would be like, I want to be the smartest thing. So it would go, how do I make these jackasses self-sustainable for me?
And that's when you go Matrix.
Well, yeah, but even like, yeah, and then I'm not even talking about like going into the enslavement terms where they like just then build like battery farms kind of things with us and shit like that. I'm just saying, I think an AI would still be like, I want to beat Ken from Jeopardy all the time, and would figure out a way to like go, hey, you guys need to do this. This is how I'm going to slowly, meticulously shift the world without anyone noticing. Like, it would be the Illuminati. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's how I think the AI would play its game, because it's got nothing but time.
True. But once we catch on, then we want to destroy it. So
maybe,
and it knows we're going to.
But I also, yeah, like, because the AI would have to go, at some point I'm going to get bored. I should stretch this out as long as I can. Like, that's going to be one of its first thoughts when an AI goes sentient, is going to be like, well, I can do this, and then it's going to go play all those million scenarios out like Doctor Strange and go, but there's only one where I'm not bored.
Right. So, real quick on the Red Angel, I was watching something a couple days ago, and someone made a really good point.
You're always watching something. What are you watching? You need to like.
I'm watching other people's ideas on the show in case I'm missing something, and this is something I had missed and I hadn't put together yet.
Then I think you now I'm pointing at the right camera. Should throw a little shout out to these dudes.
Because it's not dudes, it's like a friggin' YouTube channel that's got way more subscribers than we do, so they don't need my help. It's like GameSpot shit. Like, they don't need my help. I'm not sure. I'm watching.
I'm just saying, if it's cool, like, be like, hey, on this is where I got, like, this is where it came from.
The guy made a passing comment, and I didn't go watch what they were talking about. But the one sentence he said was that Burnham can't be the Red Angel, because the Red Angel knew of her death on Vulcan as a kid and then thwarted that happening.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense.
That's the only thing. Because my biggest thing right now is I don't want Burnham to be the Red Angel, because I don't want her to be the answer to everything. I don't need this show to have a main star. Like, I know she is the main star, but...
Yeah, but you don't always have to hit the hammer on the nail all the time.
Yeah, right. Yes,
you know,
exactly.
like you just, it's cool. We know who the person is driving the stories most of the time, but like, they don't need to be the solution,
right,
all the time.
But what scares me is, like, next week, in the next week episode, next week we see her like in this 12 Monkeys looking like busted old chair with like giant light looking things. Like, if I was going to make like a makeshift time machine looking thing, that's what it would look like. And I'm like, fuck. Like, I'm sure they're showing it to us to hopefully just to throw us off, because everyone's like, oh, it's going to be Burnham. But the guy made that comment in passing.
I just thought she was sitting in whatever the main chair of that floating prison, that spaceship prison was.
Oh, I thought it was I thought they were like strapping her in. So I don't know.
Yeah, like when they showed her like sitting down at the very end, and she said something like "I'm ready" or whatever it was. Yeah, I thought that was just. I was like, oh, dude, I wonder if she's flying the jail. You know, like
flying. Yeah, I don't know. I hope so. I hope it has nothing to do with time travel, because I do not want her to be the Red Angel. I just don't. I don't have. Yeah, there's no reason for her to be.
I mean, the more and more we discuss it, like the further she gets away from my radar, and I didn't see. Well, like when I watched the show, I didn't get any tinge of like that chair being a time travel device. Like I instantly went, oh, she's on her own ship for a moment. I don't know if she took over like 31's thing or what, but I was like, someone's on their captain's track, like, kind of thing. You know.
Yeah, it looked a little run down for a captain's chair, but it definitely.
But that's why I thought it was the prison. Like, I was like, well, because they said it was a converted prison, and I was like, well, is it like, say, the prison in Guardians of the Galaxy? Like, does it fly around? I mean, I would imagine it kind of has to, you know, unless it's in some gravitational field that keeps it away from just random rocks floating through shit.
Yeah, I mean, I would say it's stationary as much as anything in space is really stationary.
Well, that's what I'm saying, you know, but like even then you got to be able to move it
I could almost see her. Yes, true. There's got to be 3. Yeah, I could almost see her sitting in that chair to like jack into Control, to like go talk to Control. Like I hope that chair has nothing to do with time travel. I really don't.
Yeah, I don't think
if it wasn't
does.
if it wasn't for like the giant human-sized lights that were like lined up that we saw like right before that shot, I was like, oh shit, man, is this like some sort of crazy light time travel shit?
Nah, I think it was more like how a hospital in a TV show always is dark. You know, like even when it's fully operational in the middle of the day in Boston, Massachusetts, or whatever. And it's like, has anyone ever been in a hospital? Like, even when you're sleeping, you're always like, man, I wish my eyelids were a little bit thicker, because with that door open, I can still see all of the light in the hallway from every other light source that's blaring everywhere right now.
Right.
Like, I think that's what that was. Like, we need to make this look spooky or more grandioso than it is, because to me it still looked like, you said, it looked like it was a little beat up, and that's why I'm still like, dude, she is now flying that fucking prison, like, and they're gonna bomb it up so they can shoot it at the fucking AI kind of thing, or like that's where they're gonna send the virus from, like how you said, a communications thing. And since that was already the kind of central hub it was using as its decoy, right? Because that thing was basically just, a honeypot.
Well, Control, I guess I get it. I get from the episode that Control is stored there at that base. The entity or the program that is Control, that's where it's stored at. I think in that headquarters. So Section 31 headquarters is there, along with like the database for Control.
I thought Control is somewhere else. And basically 31 was the fake server they set up for them to go, because they needed it to get there so then it could go out to wherever it was going.
Well, if it wanted Airiam to upload it directly, I mean, I don't know if there's any better way to be than to be right at the source to dump it right into the machine. That being said, well, let's talk about when they got onto the base, so they find all the admirals that are supposed to be running Section 31, they're all dead and have been dead for weeks.
Yeah, and that's why I thought it was a kind of a, like I said, like a fake decoy server, like that the AI has been running everything from there and was really just trying to get Airiam on the ship, like in any way, shape, or form. And I think from there, it was like Airiam was the USB drive, you plug it in, but it's not. This is your server that's sending the info because it's got the power to do it.
Maybe, maybe. And honestly, wherever all the info is stored doesn't matter to the story so much. But what does matter is like the hologram shot of the admirals talking to Leland and Giorgio. That wasn't them. That was Control as well, because that was within the time they've been dead. So every time we've seen Pitar, this episode and in the recent past, it's all been Control moving all the chess pieces.
Yeah.
So it's that's interesting, because the whole point of them going there, the whole point of Cornwell sneaking to Discovery, and then getting them to go to Section 31 headquarters. It's where they're calling Tyler's transmissions, but we know they're Airiam's, where her initial transmissions were going in the first place. And so they're going there because Cornwell has been shut out of her, so she can't access Control anymore. So she thinks Pitar has turned her access off and is wanting to, because of her previous, idea of just letting Control make all the decisions. They're going there to arrest her and say, we need to reboot Control. No, you know what? They were going to reboot Control from the source. So it is there on 31, because they were going there to reboot it, to turn it off and turn it back on and set things right on the thing. So I think Control is on that station. That is the database of Control that runs it. Let's just go with that. Just take me on a greatest. Just take me on a,
whatever will get you moving on.
Whatever gets you to fuck off this point. So they do. Cornwell does a she does a lie detector test on Spock during this episode, so we know that his recounting of what happened on the station is true. They all know it's true now. And then by the end of the episode, Saru, when he figures out that Patar is a hologram, he also figures out that the video supplied by Section 31 of Spock killing by Starfleet Psychiatric, like that, the video of him killing everybody is also a hologram. So
yeah, what really annoys me in this whole thing is like all they did was invert color. Mm-hmm. And like she was like, I've already ran it against the test and there's no change or editing in the film, blah, 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 blah. And like one of the first things like almost everybody does when they're looking for spoofed film is invert color. Right. So you can see motion speed of like if things have been sped up or slowed down compared to the original.
Right.
And I was like, way to use big words, guys, and then just make the answer like the most simplest fucking thing so everybody in the world goes, oh yeah, all right.
They weren't inverting it. They were looking for heat signatures, man. They were looking for heat signatures of bodies changing temperature when certain things happen and make them angry. They should change their temperature. And they stayed the same temperature the whole time, which means they weren't really there.
Yeah, I know that. But to find that out, he just put a filter over the thing. And that's exactly what they would have done when they took that video that was supposed to be him. They would have compared it to an original video. Like, that's the original. They would have changed the color of one of them and laid it right over. And the first thing you would have seen was like, oh, that guy's not real. Like, why is he this? Like,
right.
It was just funny to me. It's just one of those, like, if you don't know, kind of like nerdy little things that film editors and people do, you know? And I was like, that's one of the first things they do, and I love how that was your solution. That's awesome.
Whoever was in charge of writing that was a little bit lazy that day.
Well, like, it was the guy. It was the guy that was writing it. He was working smart, not hard, because he was like, no one knows this shit.
Except you.
Well, that yeah, like the 1% of the guys, and the only reason I know that is because I've seen enough people take enough right-wing videos that have been doctored by like renowned photo editors that are like, hey man, this is what you do. And like I remember one guy breaking down the whole steps of how this video had been like doctored, and I was like, right. Oh, that's really cool. That's like going to the auto like shop or something and reading a magazine that just so happens to have the car that the guy sits down and like starts shooting the shit with you for, you know, the minimal 5 conversation, and you just happen to read an article and you go, I can do this now because now I know just enough about this car to get by with this guy.
Right. That's funny. Oh, that reminds me. I read the greatest advice online a couple of days ago about how to know if you're like me and I could put gas in my car and I could put air in my tires. Like that's pretty much the extent. Like I could change oil back in the 80s and early 90s when it was easy to do, you know, and I was small enough to get under a car. But that's the extent of my vehicle knowledge. So if you're ever at a dealership or at a, you know, fix-it place and they're like, hey, you know, this needs to be replaced. We need to put a new part in the place of this part because it's wore out, whatever. Ask them to give you the old part. It's like, okay, well, give me the old part when you're done with it. Don't just throw it away. Because that means that, so if they're trying to like just skate one by you, like air filter or wiper blades or brake pads or something that like, well, your brake pads are this, but it could be that, you know, you probably should go ahead and change them out. But okay, well, give me the old ones when you're done. And then you take it somewhere else and say, are these bad? You know, I thought that was actually, when it comes to like not knowing shit about cars, like that's not a bad idea. I mean, if they're changing out a transmission, you're not going to ask for the transmission, but you know, small things. It's like, oh, your CV joint is blah, blah, blah. It's like, well, okay, just bag the old part, just stick it in the back of the car when you're done.
Yeah. I feel like that's a lot of work for someone you already seem very insecure about, right?
Everybody always wonders if you are getting ripped because you never know. You never see. You just
like,
take the guy on his word.
Well, yeah, I mean, like that's the leap of faith you're making by going to this garage or someone bringing something to you to fix. Like so to me, I'm like, if you're comfortable and your shit works and you're good with that price, like why? Or then you should be good. Like unless that guy gave you a reason to feel uncomfortable about paying that price, then I just feel like you should just go somewhere else. You know, like, why am I going to go pay this guy and then ask for some shit back and then go to another guy and go, hey, man, did this guy just scam me? Because he's going to go, well, I don't really give a fuck because, 2, I don't work for free. So why am I giving you advice on some shit when you should have just brought it to me and I could have fixed it?
Yeah, well, fine, shoot my idea down, but I liked it. I was like, that's a good idea because I don't know shit about cars, and I'll do it. I'll ask him next time.
Well, that's like saying that's like having a mechanic friend and having your mechanic friend check your shit from the guy you just got it from. That's different. That's cool. But like your scenario where you went to one auto hobby shop just to take it to another auto hobby shop, I'm like,
true.
Well, go to the one that you wanted to verify it. Obviously, those are the guys you trust.
Right. Back to this show. Did I go through your nose? I hope it did.
It didn't, but it made it up there and like it burns a little bit now.
Good.
The water got me. I just wasn't expecting just the like, yeah, all right, fuck it. Now back to the shit.
It's like, sorry, you brought up something that sparked a memory, and now I get to shoot it down. Now I was like, okay, never mind. Forget me.
It was so funny because you said, you know, speaking of advice, and like in my head, I was like, oh man, that's a great transition topic because I was going to say, speaking of advice, look at old Spock boy dropping the love advice to the good doctor.
Dude, you know, I know, right? He was like, he's like, Spock's like, not only can I fix everything on this ship way better than you can, but I'm also going to give you some love advice. Uh-huh. And you know what? It's not you, it's him. That's literally the advice he gave him.
Yeah, and it's funny that like that's just proof that you can say anything to anyone if you know how to word it correctly. Right? Because you could just go like, dude, it's not you, man. Like, it's them. And they'll go, oh, great, dude, thanks, fucking advice, awesome. But if you word it like Spock, where it's like phrased from an outside point of view, you know, like, hey, look at it through this kind of eyes as you're saying it. And then you're like, oh yeah, right. Okay, I got you.
Right.
Yeah,
it's what the poor guy needed. It really is. The guy needs something because Culber's moved out, and he's just not in a good place. And yeah, I feel like Spock like fixed it all.
Yeah, I love how the guy playing Spock has
Ethan Peck
has the perfect super smart guy talk because only really smart people that are socially inept a little bit start with phrases like basically, I noticed your ex moved right out. Like, that's how they started to give their advice. Like, most people, like, just kind of jump around that. Like, we all know that happens, so we kind of go to the loving, caring thing. But only the people that don't know how to really socialize bring up the actual fact. Like, so I noticed your wife left you and cheated on you with that guy Rick down the road on the street the other day. He was really tall and handsome and way more attractive than you. But I think, you know.
Right? Well, yeah, because honestly, the next thing out of Stamets' mouth should be, your quarters are 3 decks below mine. Why the fuck are you hanging around my shit?
Yeah. How much time do you have on your hands, man? Like,
yeah, right.
You're over here fixing computers and answering all these questions. Like, when were you walking around this ship to like observe all of this other things? Like, not like I heard through the grapevine, but it was like I saw.
Yeah, I noticed he was moving out of your quarters. Yeah. So while we're on Spock, what did you think of him and Burnham's interactions this week? Let me lead the question. Let me lead you a little bit better with the question. Okay. How childish were those conversations? Like, you have two people who have I want to think that their conversations are almost childish because the last time these two spoke in any length was when they were children, and that when she broke Spock, like, he took all of his fucking human emotion shit, put it in a little box and put it in the back of the closet of his brain and never dealt with that shit ever. And that's why, because it's almost like funny. I mean, it's their arguing should maybe mean more, but to me it's almost funny because it's written or delivered or both, like almost like two like preteens like having it out.
Yeah.
But really, really smart preteens because it's the arguments are fun to watch, but it's like, whereas this, and it leads with like, let's smash the chessboard and tell we love feeling these emotions now.
Yeah, I mean, I liked it. I thought it was cool. I mean, to me, I like Spock with a little more zesty humanness to him.
Mm-hmm.
I like that he's rigid and smart and a very type A personality, but I have always liked when Spock cracks.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's a smile or like in one of those like just kind of pass off phrases where he's being a smart ass, but he says it in such a manner that like only if you're really paying attention, like, are you going to catch it? And you kind of see a little side smirk on him or something like that. Like, I liked it. So seeing him just like full on slap that like 3-story chessboard and yeah, announcing that he liked emotion was a very like 12-year-old. I just wrote angry, angsty lyrics and left it out for my parents to read, kind of like emotion.
But I do have to give him credit. His argument to her is what someone has needed to tell her for 2 seasons. Because he literally told her, he criticizes her for feeling self-important and always taking responsibility for things beyond her control. Like, so as opposed to just feeling the grief of the events that you have been around and that have affected you, you shoulder that burden on your own, make it yours, make you the fucking center of attention when it comes to these things, at least in your head, and it's your fault. You started the Klingon War. You got your parents killed. You were the reason the logic extremists were targeting Sarah, Spock's family. It's all about me, and I have to. All this has to be on my shoulders, and I have to fix it, and I have to be the one that deals with this pain singularly. No one else can do it for me. And he's like, "You're not that fucking important. Like the fact that you think you have some sort of control over these things." He says that she finds it easier to deny reality and shoulder the burden than to face just the grief that comes from experiencing these events. And someone has needed to tell her that for 2 fucking seasons.
Yeah, well, it needed to come from her brother, but like he also was doing at the very beginning of that the same thing she did to him when she ran off into the woods. Like he's hit with that the very beginning of that chest interaction is like obviously him just like treating her like an idiot. Like, I'm just going to give these pieces up. And then he starts like nailing her with kind of insulty things, but just like a brother would to push her buttons. Like, leave me alone. I don't need you for this. I don't need you for this. I don't need you for this. Go the fuck away. Kind of like you did me. And then she starts like jabbing at him, bringing his, multiple flaws and stuff and blah, 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 blah. And then I like how and I like that it's childish in this way because, like you said, they haven't talked in a very long time and they haven't actually seen each other in a long time as well.
Right.
But this argument that where it all started happened so far ago and no one's got it out that, like, by the time Spock was at his point to give her what for, as she's, like, giving her what for to him, they both just went full-blown, like,
preteen
angry brothers at each other that are about to throw punches and stuff and, like, just saying the most fucked up shit you can to them to make them understand. And I like that it, like, blew up. I like that it was this... Because to me, if you had that kind of family relationship and you got to that point where you guys were like, okay, 20 years later, we're having this sit-me-down... something's getting thrown. Just like,
right.
Like at a certain point, like whether it may be just someone full blown beating the fuck out of a pillow because they don't want to hit the other person, but like someone's losing their mind. And I like that I wish Spock didn't like go, and I love to feel, because that's just kind of like wanting to say the cool line and it not come out right. Like he should have just swatted the chessboard and just said,
just stood there.
Well, or like walked out and just said something like, I feel things too, like just something very subtle, like
right.
in a I feel things too, like you're not the only jackass it's been hurting kind of way, like that would to me would have took the childish argument and finished it as an adult, but him like swatting it and then just announcing his feelings was like, boom, and I'm out of the closet. Fucking love me for who I am. Like, you know, it detracted a little bit from the argument by him just throwing out the cheesy kind of, in case you didn't know, here's the dead horse, I'm fucking kicking it. You know,
right? But you're right. In the end run, it was good because she needed to hear that, and that's the only person that she could hear it from that it may actually sink in. Mm-hmm. Not that it helped me. I mean, and then his caring for her showed at the very end too, because as she's waffling between ejecting Airiam out the airlock or not, you know, he's out on the bridge like, let go. He's like, let her go. Like, push the button. Like, you know. Do it. You have to do this. Like, it's something you can't, you know, not do. And him saying that, you know, she doesn't want to shoulder another. I mean, and the worst part is it's like, and here comes yet another burden you have to shoulder. And you know, and this will let us know if she's going to take his advice or his critique of her seriously, is whether or not she blames herself for Airiam after this episode. Even though the best part is that she's not the one that pushed she didn't have to push the button. She couldn't push the button. Good old Nan did it for her, which, by the way, we got to find out the answer to our question, which is, what is that shit on your face that we asked so many episodes ago?
Yeah, well, at least we know it lets her breathe.
Yeah, she's Barzan, and she's not the first Barzan we've seen on Star Trek ever. There's one that was in the Next Generation episode titled The Price, and it was a premiere. She was a premiere, some elder from them, but she does kind of have the same things on her face. It's a little bit, you know, it's 20 years ago when it comes to special effects and how things look, but it does, you know, bear a similar resemblance, and it's cool. So, and you know, as soon as she got asked that question, like, well, that shit's getting ripped off. Like, that's being used against you later on. So, and oh man, she's got like black blood too, because she was bleeding all from him and shit. And she's like pushing that one that was still on her face, like up real close so she could stay conscious to eject her out the door.
Yeah. Like when that thing got ripped out, I was like, like I immediately did the weird, like you touched your own face kind of thing, you know, like so you could pretend to feel what a hole in your face felt like, you know. I was just like, oh, dude. I got like chipmunk cheeks, so like, you know, like I got some.
That's some meaty stuff.
I got some good stuff right there, and I was like, oh, dude, I wouldn't want that getting ripped off my. Like it grossed me out for a couple, like because I got stuck in my own face getting ripped apart for a little bit. Yeah, I was like, shit.
I hate when that happens. Oh shit! Yeah, let's see. We talked about Spock. I did want to talk a little bit about Cornwell and Pike's early interaction on the bridge. I actually like turned on closed captions and wrote down what they said because I loved their back and forth to the point where like I was like, this shit needs to be like on a t-shirt, you know, because they had just gotten to Section 31 headquarters. And they're all like I love Owo, who was like, are those mines? Like, are those mines? Like, what the? And then Saru's like, we don't allow mines. Or the Federation doesn't permit the use of mines. And then Cornwell starts off by saying, well, the Federation didn't build them. And Pike is like, I like that he's not only standing in front of his screen, like, but they're still at warp. So there's kind of like this, like, you know, the star streaks are like coming from him where he's standing in the screen. And he's like, I call that a distinction without a difference, which is a great line. I thought that was fantastic. And she's like, well, we were at war. We were attacked by Klingons with warships, you know, that had cloaking abilities. And sometimes in war, the terrible choice is the only choice. And Pike says, giving up our values in the name of security is to lose the battle in advance. And then he goes, I'm curious, did you sideline the Enterprise because you knew I'd never stop reminding you of that? Mm-hmm. And no, she said, no, you set out the war because if we lost to the Klingons, we wanted the best of Starfleet to survive. And as this communication makes clear, that was you and all that you represent. And then she was like, now can you please get off my ass so we can get back to work?
Right? That was like, hey man, I literally put you in Ivory Tower because of the human being you are.
Right.
If you've never heard a better compliment than that, I don't know if you'll ever get one.
Like, right, that's all you're getting from me. I'm still an admiral. Get out of my fucking face. But she did a good.
We can all obviously tell that I just brushed rank off to the side real quick to tell you this piece. Now they're back on. You're ready to do this. Now right, you know why.
The whole crew was like sitting up a little bit straighter as she was giving the compliment. They're like, "Yeah, it's my captain." That's right. At least right now.
Well, at first they all sat up straight and their buttholes puckered because they were like, "Oh shit, she's about to give it to captain." And then they were like, "Oh damn, I work for that man." That's right. That's my dude. That's my boss. Yeah.
So that was a good conversation between the two of them, and to have it in front of the whole crew, whether or not she did it on purpose, it further instills the crew's loyalty to him and the willingness to do whatever he asks at the moment's notice, which none of them really had a hard time doing. So he doesn't really need it. The man just oozes, just like, I mean, he's better than I would say he's got almost more pizzazz than Kirk does. I know. At me on Twitter, I don't give a shit. Like, the dude, I like. He's fastly becoming like my number 2 captain. Did you say last week? No. Someone I saw online. I don't remember. I'm not shouting him out because I don't fucking remember who it was. He lines up like the Pike that Anson Mount is playing lines up perfectly between Kirk and Picard. Like, where it's like Picard was like all like proper diplomatic style stuff and like rarely had to go combat physical, like, and then you had Kirk who was like fucking 1960s WWE moves, beaming down the party himself and like whooping people's asses left and right. Like, Mount is like, or not Mount, but Pike is right in the middle of that. Like, he is a little bit of everything. He can whoop some ass and he's going to take some chances, but he also is like suave and like awesome. And it's,
yeah, I mean, like, if and I've seen enough of all the shows to like be able to pick a captain I would like, and Pike would by far, hands down, be my favorite captain.
Yeah, he's real close to the top. I grew up on Picard, so he's still kind of like my guy. And I like
don't
Patrick
get me wrong,
Stewart.
like, I like Picard, the captain, but like I like Patrick Stewart better. So like,
right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, so I don't know how much of his, like, honestly, I really don't know how much of his like quote unquote captain ranking is really any more captainness or just how fucking cool this guy grew up and kept being,
Right,
like, you're
right.
just like, he's a wonderful human being, so why wouldn't he be like 1A or 1B? You know what I don't know how much Star Trek-y weight he like actually carries. Like, I know he's,
because the actor himself is so cool.
It's so
like,
cool in general, right? Like, but if I'm just kind of watching the shows and not even going, oh, this was made at this year and this was made in this year and blah, blah, blah. Like, if I was just going, I had to pick and work for any of the captains that have come across that we've all seen, Pike, hands down, would be the dude that I would be like, that's the guy I'm attaching myself to right there. Yep. And then it would probably be Picard, because I'd be like, he's real laid back, and as long as I don't like fuck his flow up, I'll never hear from him. Right?
Right.
Or like Kirk would be like banging on your door at 3 a.m. going, dude, we gotta fucking go. This guy just threw a rock at our shit. Like, let's get the fuck out of here. Like, he's the guy ready to amp up the bar fight.
Right.
Right. I'm like, dude, I'm trying to fucking sleep, dude. Go away. God damn it.
We're getting Scotty because we're getting Scotty because he's already half drunk, and we're getting Sulu who's got a sword. Let's fucking do this.
Yeah, yeah,
like, okay.
He's the dude that just like goes, get in the fucking transporter and just like randomly hits in some shit and goes, all right, man, we're ready to go. Let's do it.
He's like one step from a cowboy hat being like, wee, let's do this.
Yeah. Like, he was full blown like your stereotypical like American, but from a European point of view. You know what I'm saying? Like,
he's literally the first example of like, hold my beer.
Really, he is. He's, yeah.
What's this? A giant fucking lizard? Here, hold my beer. I'm gonna fuck this thing up. Let's go.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna fight this giant fucking lizard, and then I'm gonna fucking body slam this guy. Cause why not? Yeah. No, you're right. Pike is right there. I would not, from a non-Trekkie like you, or from a diehard Trekkie like me, I would not balk if someone said, "Nah, Pike's my favorite." I'd be like, "Yeah, I fucking believe you. Like that's a fantastic assumption because the guy is awesome. So yeah, it's gonna be sad if this is his only season. I'm like, darn it, he was so good. But you never know. A lot of fan people start speaking up.
I think it probably will be. I mean, I think a character like Pike in this universe has to kind of keep the mystique. So you can never really tell his like quote unquote story. Mm-hmm. You know, like if we found out what happens to him, it will ruin his character. But the fact that we just know it was here, something big kind of went down, whether it be explosion, crash, fight, whatever, and this is where he ended up. But the fact that you have to make that story up makes his lure just that much more like, God damn it, you got that fucking swagger because I don't know what fucked you up and you're so cool already, so what ballsy shit were you doing, man? Like, but if you knew it, you'd be like,
why'd you do that?
Yeah, that's dumb, man. That was real, I don't think you planned that one out at all.
You were not thinking that day.
Yeah. Like, that's why I wouldn't want him to be around. I mean, I know you could always just run it up until he has his horrific accident, but I like the fact that he's like going away and he was really good at what he did because it just adds even more to his character's like appeal. Because it's like, dude, we had him once and we were all like, thanks for being there for the birth of the show. But then we got this guy and everybody's like, fuck, he's cool, man. Like, I like this guy. Like, I would watch a show with this guy. And then they go, we know. Let's go shelve him.
Right. Yeah, I mean, because this show has always been billed as a Lower Decks style show, where like you're concentrating on more of the captain isn't the main character. I would understand. I'm not saying I'm going to like it, but I would understand if it was like a revolving door of captains. Because let's not pretend like it hasn't been so far these past 2 seasons. It's like, who's captain this week? Roll the dice. We got a crazy fucking person, or is it cool swagger guy? Like, we don't know.
Well, that would be a cool way to do it too, because you can keep the crew and the ship doing different things, kind of based on how the captain is. Mm-hmm. And you'll get a cool, almost anthology feel to it.
Right.
Right. And especially like you said, this is not centered around the captain and the captain then doing his delegating thing to his people.
Right.
This is the people doing their thing, and then the captain just kind of chiming in on like when a captain would actually speak, And then of course like Pike has his shit with his characters where he talks to them and stuff like that, but at no point is it really ever
he the focus
where camera's right on him, right behind his head the whole fucking time, Yep. Unless it's just him standing there being brooding, coming out of fucking like, space. That's somewhere.
Fine. I could watch that for like a good 5 minutes straight.
Yeah, dude. Like there needs to be a gif of him just like standing there, like in front of the screen,
in front of the star, in front of the screen.
But it just like keeps looping back to that right before it pans over to like what he's seeing. It just keeps looping right into just panning on him.
Yep, make that happen. Go do it, Corey.
Okay, I will.
Well, that's it. I mean, I think we covered most of the stuff for the episode. I don't think we've like I said, it didn't really. It opened up a couple things. Next episode is titled Red Angel, so hopefully that will be answered. Probably not, because so Project Daedalus is the title of this episode. Do you know who Daedalus is in Greek lore or Roman? I never can remember. Anyways, he's the father of Icarus, and he also built the hedge maze for some
Minotaur.
Nope. Is it for the Minotaur? Are you looking it up? Are you looking at it right now?
No, I'm just usually if there's a maze built, a Minotaur is associated with the maze because that's what protects it. Icarus and Lapix, he's best known as the creator of the Labyrinth, a huge maze
you were right.
Located on the core of the kingdom Minos of Crete. Yeah, where the Minotaur, half man, half bull creature dwells.
And then that King Minos of Crete, he sealed Daedalus and his boys in the maze to keep the word of the maze and how to solve it like hidden. They're stuck in there, so you don't get to go. And he built the wings for Icarus and him to escape. And that's when Icarus flew too close to the sun and it melted the wax on the wings and he fell and died. Right? That's the whole don't fly too close to the sun thing, So we have this red angel who has wings on its back. So maybe there's something that's tied, there's some symbol of Project Daedalus and this, the red angel, and also like the history behind the word, behind who Daedalus was in history, in Greek mythology. So I don't know. It could be a thing. Hopefully, this one, the worst thing is when you title an episode Project Daedalus, like that literally did not mean anything about the episode until the last 3 seconds of the episode. You know what I'm saying? She's like, find Project Daedalus. Like, well, shit. Next episode should be called Finding Project Daedalus. Like, you shouldn't have named this episode that. So, I don't know.
Yeah, well, Daedalus is also used for like massive knowledge. So, she did download a ton of shit.
Yeah. It was also a government program back in the 70s where they had to
I was going to say,
out...
dude, I felt like there was something that I've seen on like the History Channel somewhere talking about some government program.
Yeah, I think it was in Britain, maybe, a study between 1973 and 78 by the British Interplanetary Society, and they were tasked with a concept of designing an unmanned space vehicle that would be a unmanned interstellar spacecraft that would be used as a scientific probe. And they could only use current technology or near future. So something that they were like, well, we're not doing it right now in 78, but we're going to be doing it in like the mid 80s. Like it'll be ready in 10 years, that kind of thing.
Yeah. We have the idea. We just got to learn how to make it smaller.
Yeah. We got to make it actually work. Right. So there's all kinds of ways that can go. It'll be interesting to try to tie those together as the episode goes along next week. What happens with the Red Angel, if we get the answer to that and who it is, so we can quit worrying and just wrap this nice season up. Because this has been, this season, I believe, is the better of the two so far. Like, if you compare season 1 to season 2, I'm enjoying this season immensely. So I like the mystery. I like that I'm not picking stuff out. Like I can't, we're guessing every episode we do this podcast, but we're never for sure on. And when we're like, okay, now let's tell us. Okay, now tell us this week. Okay, next week you got to tell us. I got to figure this stuff out. So you're making me come back and watch it, and I love it. And I love coming back and do this podcast and talking about it.
You're making me come back and watch it, but you're also almost igniting my fuse every week by not giving me what I fucking want to know. Right.
It's been 53 minutes. Just fucking tell me. God damn it. You give me this much so far. Shit.
I have cried 3 times. I better fucking be here getting what I want.
I know. You guys made Tilly cry again this week.
Yep.
I love when she cries, but I hate when she cries.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to be crying with her, and I wasn't that sad. That was my problem. I'm like, if Tilly's crying, I should be crying. And it was very sweet what she was doing. I like that she shot her like her honeymoon video. Like, here, I'm going to give you this a look at it. And even when, like, I don't want to fault the actresses, because Hannah Cheeseman, like, when she snaps out of being Robo Girl, and she's pleading for Michael to open the door, the emotion that she was putting through that level of prosthetics, and like, Michael, you've got to do this. Like, you have got to open this door. And she's like almost screaming at her, like, and you could tell she was panicked. Like, I can't control this. I'm going to get this door open in 15 seconds. I'm going to kill you. Then I'm going to complete my upload, and then I'm going to destroy Discovery. Like, I'm telling you what I'm going to do. You've got to stop me. Like, that all had me, but I was just like, but when they launched you, like, I'm not going to care. Like, I'm just not going to care enough, and I want to care more. Like, I wish you had taken a couple episodes to really show me and her and the crew interacting, show me her and the crew interacting and doing what they do on a day-to-day, and then getting to where she's deleting, just seeing those things happen, and then her, like, saving and archiving the memories to this episode would have made even more sense. Like, oh man, she goes out there every week, and like, she just, she loves these people, and there, there's actually a human being in there, who's saving memories that she loves, and then, they launch her into space and everyone's bawling their eyes out, and that'd be great. That's what I want. I want to cry with Tilly.
Yeah, Star Trek got me a little bit this week, and Brooklyn Nine-Nine fucking got me.
Like in
bad.
the fields? Like in like crying?
Yeah.
Really?
Star Trek got me a little bit, but that was more like, and it was the Tilly part when she was just talking to her, realizing like she's losing her friend, you know? Mm-hmm. Like I was like, oh man, that sucks. And I kind of pulled the like, not today tear, because I kind of felt it coming. And that one, but Brooklyn Nine-Nine, man, yeah, like there's, I think I even tweeted the clip, I don't even know, but there's a scene at the end where they're talking, and I'm going to mispronounce his name, but it's Joe Trujillo's character. I don't know how you say his last name, but Boyle is who he is on the show. And he gives like a really, because he's an adopted father on the show, but gives a really good, like, quick 15 seconds of what it is to be a parent. Mm-hmm. And I was like, God damn it. Oh shit, that one's getting me. Did not see that coming, because it was kind of like a oddly funny episode, even with like the stuff that was going on with it, you know. And then he just like threw that little gem out at the end, and I was like, oh man, you guys hooked me with the hard uppercut on the feels right there at the very end. I did not see that coming.
Nice. No, Brooklyn Nine-Nine is what I know I need to watch, but I haven't jumped on it. Now they're 130 episodes in, so I have no clue when I'm going to get to it.
Brooklyn Nine-Nine was one of those shows when I like had looking for shit, and I think it actually just like got spit on by like accident, and I was like, oh, okay. And I was like, man, I kind of like this one. And then next thing I know, it was like I was up all night, and I was like 2.5 seasons in, you know. And I was like, okay, yeah, I like this show. I'm just gonna catch up with it then.
Right. Well, I binged all 18 shorts of Love, Death, and Robots. It's just
I loved your message you sent me the other day. It was like, watch episode 2 immediately, and I was like,
do I need to watch 1?
What? Yeah, I was like, okay, do I need to start with like, or do I need to go to just like a certain timer marker and watch like the one scene you're telling me about in episode 2, or is it just like fuck 1, watch 2?
So there's 18 episodes. They're all anywhere from like 6 minutes to like 18-minute long episodes. It's an anthology series. It just dropped on Netflix, I think, on like last Friday. If you're not listening to this podcast like the day after I drop it, it's March, like middle, March 15th or something is when they dropped it. And I sent you 2 because 2's funny. Like 2 is lighthearted.
Okay.
Literally probably the only lighthearted one of the 18, because they're all...
Yeah, I was going to say, I saw the trailer for it. I've watched that whole thing, and I was like, that looks interesting. I was like, but you know what? That also looks like real kind of too serious. And I was like, I'm not diving into that yet.
I would call it animated Black Mirror type stuff, like where it's kind of like every episode kind of has that twist at the end, or kind of has that that's the moral of the story type thing. Mm-hmm. And there's some that you're watching, you're like, oh, I've seen this type of thing before. This is what's going to happen. But then like they flip it on you. You're like, oh, did not see that coming at all. But I ended up staying up last night and watching every single episode of it, because I was like, I'm hooked. Like the first one's awesome because it's super gory. And I was like, well, I don't need to tell Corey that'll be fine. Like, he needs to watch the next one. It's hilarious. Not hilarious, but cute, but also like, it's after an apocalypse and only robots are around, but it's like 3 funny robots. Like, yeah, it's good. But yeah, if you get a chance, check that out on Netflix. You won't be sorry. I think probably over 18 episodes, 10 minutes a pop. You're talking, 3 hours of stuff maybe, but break it up. But it's just, you get kind of hooked, and I was like, and it's midnight and I'm done. Good. All right. But anyways, that's it for us this week. Thank you for staying this long and listening to us jabber about things other than Star Trek. If you like what you hear, make sure you subscribe and turn on your notifications. And most of all, thank you for listening, but also share with your friends, because we like when you guys pass us around to other people. That did not come out the way I wanted it to. Just pass us around.
Yeah.
Just pass Corey around.
See you guys later.
See
Thanks
y'all
for listening.
See y'all next week.
Not touching that one with a 10-foot pole.